Imagine for a second that it is the year 2050. You press a button, select wagyu beef with roasted asparagus, and within minutes, it appears. Not cooked from frozen, but created, layer by layer, atom by atom. This sounds like science fiction. It sounds like the replicator from Star Trek. But here is the terrifying truth. We need this machine to be real. Right now, our global food system is collapsing. We are running out of land, running out of water, and running out of time. But what if I told you the solution isn't growing more food, but printing it? And what if I told you the most expensive ingredient in your future steak isn't a cow, but thin air? Today, we are going deep into the labs that are hacking nature to end world hunger. Welcome to the food revolution. If you want to know if you'll be eating printed burgers or insects in 10 years, hit that subscribe button. We are investigating the future, and you don't want to be left behind. Let's look at the steak on your dinner plate tonight. That single piece of meat is the most inefficient technology on planet Earth. To get that 8-ounce steak, we needed a cow. That cow needed 2 years of life. It drank thousands of gallons of water. It ate thousands of pounds of grain. And to grow that grain, we cut down acres of rainforest. It is a math equation that no longer works. The United Nations predicts we will have nearly 10 billion people by 2050. To feed everyone, we would need to produce more food in the next 30 years than we have in the last 8,000 years combined. Think about that. If we try to do that with traditional farming, we destroy the planet. Game over. I visited a traditional slaughterhouse last year for a different story. The smell of ammonia, the noise, the sheer scale of death, it's something you never forget. But the real horror wasn't the process. It was the waste. We put so much energy into an animal just to use a fraction of it. This is why Silicon Valley isn't investing in better tractors. They are investing in cellular agriculture and additive manufacturing. They aren't trying to fix the farm. They are trying to delete the farm entirely, and it starts with a printer. So, how do you print a pizza? It's actually not that different from the inkjet printer sitting in your home office. But instead of cartridges filled with red, blue, and yellow ink, I want you to visualize this. A robotic arm moves precisely over a plate. Zip, zip, zip. It lays down a base layer of dough. Then, it switches nozzles. A red paste pureed tomato seasoned with basil is extruded in a perfect spiral. Another switch. Cheese. But not just a slice of cheese, a complex, web-like structure designed to melt perfectly at exactly 350 degrees. This isn't theory. A company called Natural Machines has a device called the Food and Eat. You can buy it right now. But printing dough is easy. That's just geometry. The real challenge, the holy grail of food tech, is printing texture. Have you ever bitten into a cheap veggie burger? You know that mushy, cardboard feeling? That's because it lacks structure. Real meat is a complex architecture of muscle fibers, fat marbling, connective tissue, and blood vessels. When you chew a steak, you are feeling that resistance, that mouthfeel. Recreating that with a printer is an engineering nightmare. Early experiments were disasters. They tasted like meaty toothpaste. Scientists realized they couldn't just print paste. They had to print scaffolding. They had to act less like chefs and more like construction workers. And this is where things get weird. To build a better steak, they started looking at medical technology. Specifically, the technology used to print human organs. If we can print a kidney for a transplant, can we print a ribeye for dinner? The answer is yes. But to do it, we need a special kind of ink. An ink that is alive. And trust me, where this ink comes from will shock you even more than the printer itself. Let's be honest. If I gave you a 3D printed steak today, and it tasted like beef but dissolved in your mouth like cotton candy, you'd hate it. We don't just eat flavor, We eat texture. We crave the chew. This is where the technology splits into two different paths. Path 1 is plant-based 3D printing. Companies like Redefine Meat in Israel are doing this right now. They aren't just mixing soy and beet juice in a bowl. They are programming a printer to mimic the exact resistance of animal muscle. Imagine a printer nozzle depositing 3 different materials simultaneously. One is red and fibrous. One is white and soft, fat. And one is dark and liquid, blood substitute. The printer lays these down in a specific digital pattern, voxel by voxel, to recreate the marbling of a ribeye. It's like building a Lego house, but the bricks are microscopic and the blueprint is biology. But Path 2. Path 2 is where we enter the realm of gods. Bioprinting. This isn't plant paste. This is real animal meat, grown without the animal. Scientists take a tiny biopsy of cells from a cow painlessly, like a scratch. They nurture these cells in a nutrient soup, causing them to multiply. Then, they turn those cells into a bioink. When the printer lays this bioink down, something miraculous happens. The cells don't just sit there. They talk to each other. They self-organize. They fuse together to form living tissue. But there is a catch. A massive biological wall that scientists hit head-on. When you print a thick piece of tissue, the cells in the middle die. Why? This is why most lab-grown meat today is thin like ground beef or chicken nuggets. To print a thick, juicy T-bone, we have to figure out how to print blood vessels, capillaries, thinner than a human hair inside the meat while we print it. It is the hardest puzzle in food science. But once we solve it, the factory farm becomes obsolete overnight. And yet, even bioprinting has a flaw. It still needs nutrients to feed the cells. Where do those nutrients come from? Usually, agriculture. We are still tied to the land. So, let's cut the cord. Let's look at the wildest solution of all. What if we didn't need land, animals, or even plants? In the 1,960 seconds, NASA had a problem. How do you feed astronauts on a 3-year mission to Mars? You can't pack enough lunchboxes. They toyed with an idea. Microbes that eat carbon dioxide. Fast forward to today. A company in Finland called Solar Foods has turned that space-age concept into reality. They are making food out of thin air. Here is how it works. And I promise you, it sounds like magic, but it is just chemistry. They take a steel tank. Inside, they put water and bacteria. Then, they use electricity, preferably from solar or wind, to split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. They capture CO2 from the air. They feed the hydrogen and CO2 to the bacteria. The bacteria eat it, multiply, and spit out a yellow powder. That powder, it is 65% pure protein. It has the same amino acid profile as beef. They call it solein. Think about the implications. To make a kilo of beef, you need 15,000 liters of water and acres of grass. To make a kilo of solein, you need a fraction of the water and a patch of land just big enough for the factory. You could build these factories in the Sahara Desert. You could build them in the Arctic. This disconnects food production from the weather. Droughts, floods, climate change, it doesn't matter. The factory keeps running. This is the Android moment for agriculture. We are moving from analog farming dependent on sun and soil to digital farming dependent on data and energy. But there is a dark side to this bright future. If anyone can print food anywhere, what happens to the farmers? What happens to the culture of cooking? And most importantly, are we ready to hand over our nutrition to a software update? We've talked about the how. Now, we need to talk about the who. Because in the future, your diet might not be decided by your appetite, but by your DNA. Let's bring this technology back down to earth. Specifically, into your kitchen. Right now, if you buy a frozen dinner, you get the same meal as millions of other people. Same calories, same salt, same sugar. It's mass production. And for our bodies, mass production is a disaster. We are all biologically unique, but we eat like we are identical robots. 3D food printing changes the game from mass production to mass customization. Imagine waking up in the morning. Your smartwatch has been tracking your sleep, your heart rate, and your blood sugar all night. It sends that data to your food printer. The printer sees you are slightly dehydrated and low on vitamin D. So, when you press Print Breakfast, it doesn't just make a bagel. It prints a bagel infused with exactly 200 milligrams of vitamin D and extra electrolytes. It custom builds the food for you, right in that moment. This isn't just for biohackers who want to live forever. It is a lifesaver for the elderly. There is a condition called dysphagia, difficulty swallowing. Millions of seniors suffer from it. They have to eat unappetizing pureed mush every day. It's depressing. But in nursing homes in Germany right now, they are using 3D printers to take that mush and print it back into the shape of carrots, chicken legs, and peas. It looks real, it tastes real, but it melts safely in the mouth. It restores dignity to dining. This is the hidden power of this tech. Now, let's zoom out, way out, to the red planet. NASA has a massive problem. They plan to send humans to Mars in the 2030 seconds. A round trip takes 3 years. You cannot pack 3 years' worth of sandwiches in a rocket. It's too heavy. And after 6 months, the vitamins in prepackaged food break down. They need a system that creates food on demand, with zero waste. Enter the Deep Space Food Challenge. NASA is literally paying companies to invent these 3D printing systems. On Mars, you don't have supermarkets. You have a closed-loop system. Everything must be recycled. And I mean everything. Imagine a machine that takes the CO2 the astronauts breathe out, combines it with water recycled from, well, urine, and feeds it to the microbial tanks we talked about earlier. Those microbes make protein. The 3D printer turns that protein into a hot meal. It sounds gross to us today, but to a Martian colonist, that machine is life. And here is the beautiful irony. To survive on Mars, we have to master sustainability perfectly. We have to learn how to waste nothing. If we can build a machine that feeds a village on Mars using nothing but recycled air and water, why can't we put that same machine in a drought-stricken village in Africa? Or a refugee camp? The technology we develop for the stars might be the exact thing that saves us down here on the ground. So, we have the tech, we have the need, we even have the prototypes. Why aren't we all eating printed burgers yet? There is one final barrier. It's not science, it's not money, it's you. Specifically, the primitive part of your brain that screams danger when it sees something new. Technologically, we are there. Economically, we are getting there. But psychologically, we are terrified. There is a term for this. Food neophobia, the fear of new foods. It's an evolutionary instinct. For our ancestors, eating something unfamiliar meant death. So, when we see a machine printing a steak, our lizard brain screams, fake, artificial, poison. Critics call it frankenfood. They say it's unnatural. But let me ask you a question. Is a chicken nugget natural? Is a factory farm, where animals are pumped with antibiotics and never see the sun, natural? We have a romanticized view of agriculture. We imagine a red barn and a happy farmer. But that world hasn't existed for 50 years. We are already eating highly processed, engineered food. We just don't see the machine that made it. The only difference with 3D printed meat is that the machine is sitting right on your counter, not hidden behind a factory wall. History tells us we will get over it. When the microwave was invented, people thought it caused radiation poisoning. When ice makers were invented, people said frozen water was against God's will. Today, we don't even think about it. The next generation, the kids growing up today, won't care that their burger was printed. They will care that it didn't kill a cow. They will care that it didn't burn down the Amazon. To them, slaughtering an animal for food will look as barbaric as whaling looks to us today. So, let's go back to that kitchen in 2050. The printer finishes its job. You pull out a perfect, steaming meal. We started this video by asking if this technology could save humanity. The answer is yes, it can. But will we let it? We are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to a world of 10 billion people fighting for scraps of land. The other leads to a world of abundance, where hunger is a history lesson, not a daily reality. The technology is no longer science fiction. The printer is ready. The ink is ready. The only missing ingredient is our willingness to take the first bite. I want to hear from you down in the comments. If I put a plate of 3D printed wagyu beef in front of you right now, would you eat it? Yes or no? Be honest. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the future, you will love my next documentary. We are going to investigate the artificial womb, how technology might replace pregnancy entirely. Click the video on your screen right now to watch it. See you in the future.